Thank you, Voice Girl, and welcome once again to another edition of the Man Space Podcast. Now, this is the voice of Russ, and with me as always, he is the man who moonlights as the stunt double for Forrest Whitaker, the one and only Big Les.
You got to call me Moon Dog. You know what I'm saying?
I was flipping channels and I saw Forrest Whitaker and I'm like, man, he looks like Les.
Man, you better stop playing. I'm gonna kick you in your left leg as soon as I see you. I promise.
We have a guest and I want to get to our guest really quickly, but before I get to our guest, I just got to get on my soapbox real quick about something, man. So this past Saturday, Mrs. Russ and I, we had a real busy day. And so we went out to dinner Saturday night to go kind of celebrate a little bit. We sat down and we get a call from one of our sons saying that the baby boy was being rushed to the hospital, right? We jumped in the car and we took off, right? So we're heading down there about an hour and something down the road. We get there to the hospital. He's been there about an hour by the time we get there. They checked him. He's wheezing. He can barely breathe. He's in so much back pain and everything else. He's displaying all the symptoms of COVID.
Yeah.
But they tested him and said he didn't have COVID. They gave him some medicine for the pain and then put him back out in the lobby. You know, so he's out there waiting. He's sitting in a wheelchair because he can't even walk at this point. He's sitting in a wheelchair, sitting in the lobby. We sat there in the lobby of the hospital until about 5 a.m.
Oh, no.
My wife and I got there at 10:30 that night.
Yeah.
We sat there till about 5 a.m. And finally, my wife's like, the pain medicine is wearing off. He's in pain. Mm-hmm. How many more people are ahead of him? There's still like 2 more people ahead of him at this point.
Right.
So, like, listen, can y'all at least give him some more pain medicine? The nurse comes out and says, oh, yeah, he has COVID. He's been sitting out here in the lobby all this time. They said they did a second test on him and now diagnosed him with COVID. He's been sitting out there in the lobby with everybody else. And I've been noticing, like, they're taking patients. Everybody they triage, they put them right back out there in the lobby. There was another lady who came in, even in worse condition than he was in. And they put her right back out there in the lobby with everybody else.
It seems now, if you're not bleeding from some orifice or some cut or break, you will sit in the lobby. It doesn't matter what it is.
What the doctor said was that there's a new strain of COVID that's going around that's attacking people that are not vaccinated, especially young people. And now, if you got COVID, they give you some medicine, send you home, and they said 5 days, you should be fine. But it's so frustrating because of how much conflicting information that's coming out. Yeah. But they say that this new strain is really hitting people that are not vaccinated, which my youngest son, he's the one that did not get vaccinated, right? No matter what we said, he wouldn't do it. So now he got hit and I'm like, he couldn't even walk. I mean,
that's crazy, man. But, so was he having just back problems where he couldn't walk, or was it?
Yeah, he was in so much pain. He was in so much pain that he couldn't even walk.
Because Mrs. Les is having some back problems, and she's not feeling well.
But she's been vaccinated, right?
Yeah. She's been vaccinated. So, and we tested her, and she's fine. But she's feeling better this afternoon. But you know, at first, that was the first thing I said. It was like, let's get you tested, boo. Let's make sure. Yeah.
Nobody knows what to do. Like, you go into the hospital. The people checking people in is not wearing a mask. There's no shield, nothing. And I'm watching the nurses come out and check people, not washing their hands, not wearing a mask. I'm like, what are you doing? How are you not spreading it?
Spreading. Right? They are exactly doing that. They're exactly spreading.
So then we asked the question, well, should we quarantine now? Since we've been around him and we've been here in the lobby with everybody else, should we? Oh, if you've been vaccinated, you're fine. What?
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Right. So, nobody knows. We've been in this thing for over 2 years now, and nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
It seems like at this point, we should have some sort of answers.
Well, that's because just like anything else, medicine is called a practice for a reason.
Absolutely.
It's practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
So you have to be very careful with that. And I get it. People don't want to take the vaccine, whatever you want to call it. That's fine. You know what I mean? You do you, but take care of yourself. You need to take vitamins daily. You know what I mean? You need to take care of yourself. And protect yourself from everybody else. Yeah. You know, if that means wearing a mask, wear a mask. Because I started wearing mine again. Because it's starting to come. It's just too close. Too many people, you know, and it's on the rise again in the state. So, you know, I might as well take care of myself now before they start to try to shut it down all again. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's already, it's New York or Buffalo, somewhere up north is already reenacting the mask mandates for indoors. Yeah. And guess what? It's about to this is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. I don't think it's going anywhere. People in other countries have been wearing masks for eons. They've been wearing masks, even if it was just protect them from the smog and the environment. But they've been wearing masks forever. You know, so it might become our daily norm. Absolutely. Well, as you heard me kind of mention at the top of the show, we do have a guest, and Manspace Nation, I want to take a few moments to introduce you to our guest. Every now and then, we have to bring some class and elegance to the Manspace podcast. Our guest today, she is the co-owner of Women's Inspirational Radio and the Empowerment Podcast Network. She is a wife, a mother, a grandmother. Now, Les, I'm not going to even tell you how many kids are involved in all of this, but I'm just going to give you a little hint that she could start her own third world country and all. Really? Yes, but our guest is also an author. Now, I'm going to proclaim a few things into her life with this now. Right. She is the author of a best-selling, award-winning book, From Suicide to God's Side. Awesome. She is also the host of the radio show entitled We Are One, found on women'sinspirationalradio.org every Monday at noon. Now, to some, she is known as Angela Goodman Foxworth, but to her radio audience, you already know what to do. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell everyone you know that Angie Fox is on the Manspace podcast. Yes, Fox. Well, welcome to the Manspace podcast. Hey, we got the audience ready this time.
I know. Thank you. I feel special right now. Now I know how to talk on the radio. Thank you both for having me. It's an honor to be with you all right now.
You're more than welcome.
More than welcome. We want to jump right in and we want to talk about your book a little bit. So last year, Les and I lost a close personal friend, and it was a loyal member of the Manspace Nation to suicide. In your book, From Suicide to God's Side, you document your own struggles with being on the brink. And what was the proverbial come to Jesus for you moment, for the lack of a better term, but what was that moment that made you realize that this was not the way that you should go?
Well, I would love to say that it was after I successfully committed suicide in 2007, but I would be lying if I said that. I had been introduced to Jesus Christ at a very young age, like most of us. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior at the age of 18 when I got married to my first husband, and I did not know how to live as if I knew Jesus Christ. Let's put it that way. I committed suicide, February 2007. To answer your question, I would have to say I was on a journey for 17 years of trying to commit suicide. I didn't just think about it. I was attempting suicide on a regular basis. That became my norm. I lived with self-hatred and manic depression And everything that happened to me, or everything bad that happened, I internalized and blamed myself, and I hated myself. So I didn't want to live. With 5 children, I still did not want to live.
Oh, my.
I actually, as I said, committed suicide. I tell people I successfully committed suicide February 2007, yet I'm here to talk about it. When I was found, and it's in my book, From Suicide to Suicide, as you mentioned, when the person that found me slumped over in my car the day that I committed suicide was a Caucasian doctor. And he broke my window and got me out and immediately recognized that I had committed suicide. On the way to the hospital, they told me he rode with me in the ambulance, didn't know me. And when the EMT workers declared me dead, because all of my vitals stopped, flatlined, and my heart stopped, he wouldn't give up on me. They said one of the EMT work in the back sat aside. They turned the siren off, and he wouldn't stop working on me. By the time they got me to the local hospital here, I had a pulse. So I would love to say the rebirth moment came after that experience, but I was still so utterly depressed and hated myself so much that I was angry that I survived, that I came back. And for the next 4.5 years, I continued to attempt suicide. The moment when I realized this is not the way to go, it's not because of my children. It's not because by this time I had grandchildren. It's not because of my grandchildren. It wasn't for the love of my husband or the love of myself. None of that were factors.
Right.
In the church that I'm in now and learning the word of God, and I have to go there because that's what saved me. Learning how to use the word of God, not just memorize scriptures. I remember because my husband and I, my current husband and I, my second husband is, we had such a very toxic relationship prior to getting married. And of course, it spilled over into our marriage for the first year. That my way of not wanting to live and having a toxic relationship, I had nothing to live for. There was no bright light in my life. My children were better off if I were gone. So after being in a church where we were taught the word, although my marriage was not healed, so to speak, because we were still not together in a sense of what you would call a real marriage. I remember the last time I attempted suicide, we were at my shop. I had a flower shop, purchased my mom's flower shop, and we were laughing and talking. Everything was fine. And I got up, told him I was going to the store. I'd be right back. My husband was off that day, so he was at the shop, and one of my daughters was there. And I got in my car, and the enemy said, "Do it now." And I just kept driving and kept taking pills and kept trying. And when they didn't hear back from me, they knew. Because at any given moment, Mama would go and try to commit suicide. Nothing had to happen. Nothing went wrong. I was just laughing one minute, and I'm always thinking, how am I going to die? Well, that particular day, when they found me, I was coming over the bridge. I was driving, and I was going out from all the pills. And because my how this is going to sound crazy, my dream for my death was that I would die in a crash from taking all the pills. That way they wouldn't do an autopsy and my children could still get the insurance.
Wow.
Oh,
so I was always putting myself in that position. So I was coming over the bridge where we lived near on the street where my shop was. And they said I was so out of it that I was no longer controlling the car. My car was on the other side of the bridge as it was going over. No traffic was coming up the bridge.
Wow.
I don't know, at some point, and I know it had to be God, at some point, my car just floated from off the bridge to almost in front of where my shop was, which was probably about a quarter of a mile. And my husband and my daughter saw the car and came out, and he drove me to the hospital. The doctors told him 1 more hour. The only thing they would have been able to do was fly me to Charleston, send my family there to watch me die. My organs had begun to shut down. They counted, I don't remember how many pills in the X-ray when they found out. So at that moment, during this time, now this is after 17 years, my brother. Les, is it?
Yes.
I did this for 17 years.
Wow.
So the hospital kind of already knew what my deal was.
Mm-hmm.
So my pastor, who is my biological brother, but when my pastor became my pastor by then, the one that was teaching the word, came into the hospital. My sons were in the military, and I don't know how they got home. Every time this happened, they would be home. I remember at one point, my sons were in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
I always woke up and saw them in the hospital with my daughters.
Right.
Wow.
So this particular time, my sons were not home yet, but they were on their way. But my daughters were there, my husband was there, and when I came through, too, they were still with the charcoal and all that, trying to pump my stomach.
Yeah.
And I remember my pastor pointing his finger at me. He said, "It's time for you to take a hold of the word and live." And he said to my husband and my children, "Let's go." And they all walked out on me. And I was admitted to the hospital, and I was put into a room where I would be watched, of course, not institution, never been institutionalized.
Right.
But because I've always had a strong support system, that's what the doctors always say. We have such a strong support system, we're going to send you home and get counseling. I've always had to not recommended counseling. It was required, but I've never been institutionalized. So this particular time, I was put into a room and watched. And the person that had to watch me was a young lady who went to school with me, who I ridiculed and bullied in school.
Wow.
And she had to watch my every move. I couldn't even go to the bathroom without her sitting on a chair with the door open, watching me. Wow. I couldn't be left alone to do anything. And for some reason, that humiliated me. It humiliated me to the point that I said, okay, when I get out this time, I got something for y'all that'll never happen again, because this time when y'all find me, I'll be dead. But by the time I got sent home, my boys were here. And my husband was afraid to go to work. Nobody wanted to leave me alone. And all I kept thinking every day was, you better take a hold of this word and live.
Wow.
And I just started saying, God, you won't let me die. And I don't know how to live like this. You got to help me. And I went to, I'm a real feisty chick, brother. I've got a lot of mouth. I got a whole lot of attitude. I think I've been grown since I was 13, so you can't tell me anything. I'm everybody's boss. I'm everybody's mom, all that. So I used to call my daughters names that weren't given to them at birth. That name you say on the street. Yeah. They call some to fight, but it's degrading. Right. And I have 3 daughters, and that's what I would call them. I never called them by their names because that's what I called myself. And I had 3 grandchildren, my first 3 grandchildren, and I was fussing with my daughters because I didn't like the way they mothered my grandbabies. And my husband, I was babysitting, so when they came to my house to pick up my grandchildren, I treated them as if they were my children. And my daughters, I called them their names, and they were possessions, so they had no reason to talk back to me. Who do you think you are? And my husband was trying to tell me, baby, you need to calm down. Let me take you for a ride because this is not right. So I felt like he was taking their side.
That's right. Right, right.
And this was a Thursday night, which was time for Bible study. And I got in the car with him, and I let him have it. And all the way to church, after riding around, we were cursing and fussing in the car. And I was giving it to him because nobody can tear somebody down like I can. And we got to church, and I got out the car, straightened up my clothes, and walked in like nothing happened with my Bible in my hand. And we sat together, and at this time, praise and worship team. I know it's long, but this is the opening to my moment. Right. They were singing a song that said, I give myself away so you can use me. Now, Les, I've been saved a long time. I got saved at 17 when I got married the first time. So I just didn't know how to be saved. And when they sang that song, I give myself away so you can use me, I started crying. I said, God, you can't use me like this. I don't want this anymore. And I stood up and walked to the altar and laid flat on my stomach and cried out to God and said, take it away. I give you me. That was the moment. That moment, I gave away myself. And that was the first time in my life that I knew what it meant to let go, because I said, I'm giving you my husband. I give you my children. I named everybody. I'm giving you my marriage. I give you all of me. I don't want to do this anymore. And you know the song that Helen Baylor sang about her testimony, called her testimony? And she said in that moment, God delivered her. And I used to always think, that's crazy. This is a process. It takes time. But it was in that moment I laid on the floor and actually gave up everything, that I was delivered. Wow. And from that night, July 2012, to this moment, I have never, ever been depressed, suicidal, or anything else again. My language changed. My children's names became what they were given at birth. I had to do the work and stay in counseling and getting counseling with my children. I had to apologize to my children. I had to help my daughters heal because they had been torn down by their mom. My children, my 5 children had watched me most of their young childhood life throughout their, from like adolescent to adulthood, watch their mom be suicidal and didn't know what to do. So I had poured a lot of things into them that would not have helped them to become productive citizens because they watched my brokenness. They lived it. So it was that moment on the floor where I couldn't do anything else. And I actually gave it up. It wasn't in me. It was the higher power that some call God, this higher power. He's my higher power. That's the moment that I changed. And from that night to this day, I've been on this radical path of helping others not to be suicidal or overcome suicide and depression. And not only that, I have been given, I call it a sixth sense. I can be in a room filled with people, and if there's somebody depressed and suicidal, God will send me to that person. It's like I can look on them and say, that baby's suicidal. I've had people come to me or take me to family members or bring family members to me, and they'll say, she's trying to kill herself. Like, she's not suicidal. She's trying to get attention.
Yeah.
And then I can minister. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that's the, if it's suicidal and needing attention are, they look the same, but they are completely different.
Not the same.
Exactly. Yep. Not the same. I know it feels like you've answered this question, but I have to ask you, you know, this is such an intriguing thing, you know, where a lot of people write books because they have a gift to write a book. Not a lot of people have this something that they lived with and they actually put it in a book where somebody can read it and you're very candid about it. What really made you be that candid when you were writing this book? And really, I can see now that there's a lot of things that you could say, oh, this is what made me do it. But what really made you sit down and write this book and be so candid about it?
Of course, like I said, it's the word of God that delivered me, but it is what I learned in counseling. The tools I learned in counseling was to counter these thoughts, Angela, write everything down, right? We didn't call it journaling. Write everything down. Write down how you're feeling. Write down what you're thinking. Write down what happened to you. The fights, the cussing, the fussing, the nothing happened. I just feel this way. Write it all down. So when in my home is just my husband and myself, and one of the bedrooms would turn into my office. And I saw the movie, The War Room.
Yeah, great movie.
Years ago.
Excellent movie.
Excellent movie, right? Well, I took that movie to heart because I went in my office and I began to write scriptures and prayers on these long sheets of paper and everything I had typed out. And I started putting, the room right now is still filled with prayers and scriptures, right? So to answer your question, Les, I realized that even though counseling is not what I would say broke that spirit of suicide and depression in me, but it's tools that I learned in counseling that helped me to become candid. Because when I was writing, I didn't start out to write a book. I was just real radical about helping people. And one night, on Thursday night, we were in Bible study, and a lady we'd never seen before walked in and sat at the back of the church. the pastor was up front teaching about unforgiveness. My mom was still living, and mom and dad were still living then. And I stood up in the middle of his message, and I pointed to her, and I said, Pastor, she's suicidal. Mm-hmm. And that woman cried out and said, when she left that night, her plan was to go kill herself. And that night, I shared my story with her, and my mom and dad turned around and said, who are you talking about? And I said, me. After that night, the pastor looked at me and he said, write the book. Somebody needs help. And I didn't know how to write a book. I don't even like writing. I came home and got in my office. You know what I did, Les, to answer the question?
Yeah.
I started pulling. Remember, my wall is filled with prayer. But one whole wall, one side of the room is just, look where God brought me from. There are pictures of me when I was suicidal. Not one picture looks like a person who was suicidal. There are my journals that I wrote while in counseling. I tore the pages out and I taped them to that wall. Not everything is in order, but there are pages of my journey when I was going through it on that wall. And that's when powerful. I got ready to write the book, I sat at my computer desk and I was, okay, God, I don't know what to do. And I just looked at that wall and started pulling sheets off the wall and typing.
That's so
That's
powerful.
My book.
Yeah. That's powerful. But it still came from you. It's organic. You know? And that's what makes a good book. That's what keeps people engaged. It's because it's not something of what they heard. This is something you went through. Exactly. You know, and that's what makes it tenfold, you know, better.
But you know what? I always tell people, when my ex-husband read the book, he cried and called me and apologized for not being the man that God wanted him to be when we were married. I said, boy, if you read that book and thought about you, read it again. That book is not about you. When my husband came home and he read the book, he cried and came in the room apologizing. I said, boy, if you think that book is about you, read it again. That book is not about you. I said, because y'all have to understand, that book tells what I went through, not what happened to me. Although it does mention things that happened to me. What they did to me did not cause me to be depressed or suicidal. It was listening to the voice that told me I was no good. I wasn't pretty enough. I was too skinny. I was ugly. I wasn't good enough. Nobody loved me. Nobody cared. It was that I believed about myself that caused me to sink into that place of depression. And I tell everybody, this is not a how-to book. This is not a how-to book. Read it to the end and get the message. In the end, I get delivered. And so I started out with this book, Brother Les, and I had 3 different book signings. I've sold out boxes of 100 more times than I can count. I don't really publicize, promote Amazon. I like the people to get the book from me because I autograph every one of them differently. And I tell people all the time, even if you're suicidal, just read it to the end. Because if I can get set free, there's an answer for you. And the next book is called Life After Suicide. That's the one Miss Tabitha Russell is going to publish. It's already written. I just never sent it to my publisher. It's written. And God started leading me to her recently. So I asked her. She's going to publish Life After Suicide. But awesome. This book is all about no matter how low you sink, no matter how low you feel, no matter how bad it is, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But sometimes people who are going through it or families of people who are going through it have no idea what to do or how to see that light until somebody who's been there can help them. And that's what I am. I'm that conduit. I'm that one to try to help people because I'm not going by what the textbook says. I'm telling you what I know. I can tell you how you feel right now. And I can tell you how to get help from that. So that's what this book is about. And that's what my life has become about.
Really, really powerful testimony. I mean, I've been sitting here since you've been talking, wiping tears from my eyes, just listening to you.
I wasn't going to admit it, but, you know, I kind of did like this a couple times. Y'all didn't pay no attention, but, you know, it's good.
But yeah, this has been an awesome testimony, and you really hit so much in there. But, you know, there's so many people that listen to this show that may be around somebody who is suicidal. What are some symptoms that they may want to keep an eye open for?
I can answer that simply by saying this, because there's no ABC answer to that, because some people don't show any symptoms at all. I was one who mastered living a facade, looking like I got it going on, even though I'm broken and dead inside. So you may be close to someone who is depressed or suicidal and not have a clue, because there aren't always signs to look for. Now, there are some signs, and the textbook got it right on this. That extreme loneliness, that extreme feeling of sadness, that prolonging place of grief or mourning or self-hatred, that place of always feeling inadequate or not good enough. It can take you to a dark place that causes you to spiral, and you'll begin to see changes in their behavior or in the way they dress or always wanting to be alone. Pay attention to that, because those are warning signs maybe that they won't come out and say it. The biggest sign is not a sign at all. And what I'm saying is, when you are around people, tune in to those that you are around. Tune in to those who are closest to you. Ask questions to your children, to your grandchildren, to your neighbors, to your friends, to your best friends, to your confidants. Ask questions to all of your comrades, those that are in your life, because some may not want to be transparent and say, I'm going through this. So one of the best ways to help people, whether you know they're suicidal or not, is to always be intentional about helping. Let people around you know, man, if you ain't going through nothing, we good. If you ever go through anything, you can talk to me. Sometimes just say that to your loved ones. Hey, I got you. I'm always telling my friends, I got you. I have my 5 children tell each other, I got you. I tell I don't call them stepchildren, but my husband's biological children, I got you. Because I'm my dukes. So everybody that has a problem, they don't call their mothers, they call me. They don't call my husband, they call me. Not just for prayer, but for advice, for help. Because I will not sit back and allow you to sink into that place of depression and suicidal mentality on my watch. So what we have to do to answer you simply is this. Take the responsibility for those around you and those you love. Because somebody smiles and looks like they're good, and on the outside looking in, it looks like they have every reason to be happy. Don't take it for granted that they are. Look for any changes in their mood, attitude, personality, whatever, that doesn't look like what you know of them if you really know them. And then make yourself available. Because I had to learn, Brother Les, to become transparent and get up off my high horse and let people know I don't have it going on. I walk like, talk like, act like, strut like I've got it going on 24/7. There are a lot of people that do that. They hide behind everything. So for those people that are in your life, or if somebody feels like you have them on a pedestal and they don't want to tell you the truth, just make yourself available and say, hey, you ever want to talk? I've got you. Sometimes let's talk. I have to date my children. My kids are grown. My baby is 34. And I still have to sometimes date them because I have to make them know one-on-one and collectively that y'all can talk to me about anything. My ex-husband has remarried. I have remarried. I have his children from his wife are my godchildren. From his first wife are my godchildren. There are times when I have to call him, I need you to come to something. And we'll meet at my office, not my husband now, my ex-husband, myself, and our 5 children. I will call my boys on Zoom because they live in different states. Call them on Zoom, tell my girls, get to my office, and we'll have a family meeting. You're grown, yes. You live in your life, yes. But do you need to talk about anything? You know, because I have to also remember that it's also important for us to realize whomever in your life that you have influenced or impacted, whether it's your children, your spouse, your parents, your siblings, your friends, childhood friends, new friends, whatever. If you are influential or have impacted their lives, then understand this, that you have a part to play in how they live their lives. Right. And you don't want to be that negative influence. So I take responsibility for the people who had to make choices in their lives based on what they saw me live and the destructive path that I took. So now my job is to help them heal hurt that may have been caused ultimately or at some point by me. Maybe not directly, maybe indirectly. So just make yourself available. If you're listening to this broadcast and you're still not sure, then just put yourself out there and say, look, you can talk to me about anything.
Yeah. Come
to me if you need something. And give people permission to be transparent, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Because sometimes it's in that place that they will find the help that they need or the strength to say, you know what, I'm not going to try to kill myself today. Yeah. We can only do one day at a time.
That's right.
Ignorance is there, but they've got to take it one day at a time. Because it's our walk. It becomes your walk, your life, your ordinary everyday life. So we who are whole and healed and love life and love ourselves and living life to the fullest and enjoying life, we have to be responsible for and make ourselves available to help those because you may not see the signs.
Yeah, I really appreciate this conversation and the communication, because there's a lot of people that are listening that, like you said, they're walking behind a facade. So I hope that this could reach someone. And if you know somebody and they're having some issues, let them listen here. Reach out for help, and, we'll do everything we possibly can,
And I even went as far as, if you don't mind me saying this, I went as far as become a certified mental health coach for the very reason of trying to help people and knowing and then learning what I can and cannot do or say and how to refer people to professionals, licensed professionals. So I put myself out there as a certified mental health coach. I am a certified life coach, getting ready to sign up to become under my sister Tabitha, to become a certified Christian life coach, and also to just help people and be able to guide people in the right direction while we're being that example. So we are available to help.
The perfect example of what it is to go through something, share it, so somebody else does not have to walk down the same path you do.
Yeah.
Perfect example of it. Like I say, information is key. And if we have to have it and we have to share it, especially within our community.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope y'all don't hear this in the recording, but
we do.
The ice cream
truck, out front.
I actually thought you were playing that. I thought that was like the closing music or something.
No, that's outside my house.
Did you see me looking around? I was like, I hope that's not me today, because it was me in the beginning. You're going to catch that one as well. I just want to let you know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
We have a game that we'd like to play with our guest, which is called Lightning Round.
All right. So here we go. Here we go.
Hold up. That was wrong. That's a mistake. Hold on.
Russ can never get the music together.
Hold on. My bad. I was hitting the wrong button. It was stuck. Okay. Hold on. I got to get this in. Wait, let me do it right.
There you go. There it is. There it is. Lightning round.
All right. You have 60 seconds to answer your questions. Just say the first thing that comes to mind. So when the music stops, the time is up. You guys are ready?
Red eye.
All right.
Talk or text?
Text.
Night in or night out?
Night in.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Job first or party later?
Always job first.
What's your go-to snack?
Lemon flavored ginger snaps.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Those are good. Last book you read.
It's called Cat in Freedom.
Okay. Drums or flats when it comes to chicken wings?
Flats.
Favorite place to vacation?
Orlando, Florida.
All right. Okay. We missed 3 questions, but I'm gonna ask you anyway because he couldn't get the music right. So, what's your favorite color?
Royal blue.
I knew it was gonna be blue. First celebrity crush?
Denzel Washington.
Okay. Describe your style in 1 word.
Me.
You. Okay.
Technically you. That's all right there.
Hey, but did you see the neck roll with it? You know what I mean? She was like, me. So, Angie, let's talk about the Women's Inspirational Radio. If you could share with the Man Space Nation what Women Inspiration Radio is all about.
Women Inspirational Radio is an internet radio station ordained by God for women to have a voice.
Okay.
Women fight. You all will not agree. But women fight to be heard. We fight to have a voice. Maybe not as much now in society as it was in the past, but women fight in churches, we fight in our homes, we fight to be heard. So there are so many women doing so many powerful, magnificent, impactful things, positive things. And I wanted a platform that would bring women together to use what they have and what they're already doing to be able to be heard all around the globe to help empower other women.
Okay.
So hence women empowerment, women inspirational.
Now, was your background in radio, and
No.
what was the motivation for you to start the station?
Okay. After all of that about my journey, I working in church, serving in ministry, over the women's ministry and different things, I realized that I was being drawn to helping to empower women, right? So God gave me a vision back in 2018 of a women empowerment organization. And I launched it at our church through my pastor by submitting it to the women's ministry and launched it. We Are One the Movement at Alive in November of 19. Well, that was a women empowerment movement, and it became a ministry because we turned it into a nonprofit organization, and it became my everything. My clothes have the icon, the logo, Women We Are One the Movement, everything on it. So it's a women empowerment organization. Well, after my book came out, I went to a radio station, an internet radio station, and met with the owner and tried to get my pastor on a show because I wanted everybody to hear him because, hey, his teaching what saved me, right? So I wanted everybody to hear him. And while talking to the owner, of course, y'all can tell I talk a lot, and I'm telling my story. And he said, you need a show. That was 2016. And he said, think about it. And I said, nothing to think about. When God opens the door, I know it. So I walked out with a show for myself called Real Talk with Angie. And that show was just me being upfront, transparent. My book had just come out, so I was going to be talking about my journey and just talking because I love to talk. Didn't care a bit about radio or any of that. Nothing to do with communication. Well, that show actually parlayed into 3 shows on that station. I brought my pastor in as my first guest, and he never left. He was invited the second month, that first Monday, and he kept saying, I'll see you next week. The next week, I'll see you next week. I'll see you next week. He never left. That's okay. So the end of the month, the last week, my husband called immediately after the show and said, you and Pastor together are powerful. Keep him as your co-host. And I said, well, Pastor, instead of getting your show, you want to be my co-host? And he said, yeah. And the show became Real Talk with Angie and Pastor G. And then the owner had an idea for another show called Life Conversation, with just like a forum similar to The View.
Right.
And he told me about it, wanted me to lead it. I got 3 other ladies, and we had that show. Then he said, you need another show. I said, well, God been dealing with me about another show that has nothing to do with me and Pastor, to bring people on and let them talk about what they're doing and their dreams. My motto for We Are One the movement was Dream Deferred No More. Well, the name of the third show was Dream Deferred No More. So that show came about with me bringing in a different guest every week to just talk about what God is doing to them, whether they were living their dreams, trying to find their dream or realizing, or whatever. Well, when I got to the place after 3 years, I said, you know what? I got it now. I don't need to do this anymore. I'm good. You know how we think we've arrived. Yeah. I was going places. Everybody knew my name. People were recognizing me. People were buying my books like crazy again. And I left it alone. When I left the radio station, the owner took it away. He packed up and moved and killed the radio station, because everybody that had a show on the station came through from being a guest on my show. So he said, if you leave, everybody's going to leave, so I might as well shut it down. Well, about 7 months later, I started feeling this sense of emptiness. Like, I don't know what it is. My marriage is good. Church is good. Lord, I'm living right. I'm still doing things right. Why am I feeling so empty? I no longer knew what my purpose was. I didn't have a reason to do anymore. And one day out of the blue, I texted him and I said, how are you doing? And he called me and he said, my mom was just praying for you. I never met her before, but she had always been praying for me since I've been on the first radio show. And I said, I just feel empty, and I guess I just wanted to call and see how you're doing. I haven't talked to you since you shut the station down. He said, what can me and my mom do for you? I said, bring the radio station back. He said, that'll never happen. I said, well, God is telling me I got out of position. He didn't tell me to leave radio. I did that on my own. The next day he called me. He said, I'll bring it back if you own it. And I said, okay, I'll own it if you're my partner. So we relaunched the radio station. But I told him it has to be different. I have to have the name to encompass what we're doing, women empowerment. So I changed the name to Women Inspirational Radio. I found a building the same day, moved into it, set up studio, and began to do live radio right there. Internet radio, but live. Had 34 women sign up with the quickness. Had 34 shows, and were moving and growing. Well, sometimes people come into your life for a reason, and you have to remain co-host, and then at other times they're only there for a season, and you have to know when to let people go. And some things took place, and it was no longer a fit. It started to become a problem rather than a growing fit. And I told him, I said, the vision that God gave me is for podcast, radio, TV, which at the time I was talking about. It was a lot of different things that he kept fighting everything. And he wanted everything to be on a shallow level, and started to try to get, I guess, I'm not going to say men and women can't be in business together, but he made it difficult. And I told him, you have to go. I am on a mission here. I've got a man at home, and I have a purpose to fulfill. You've got to go. I need you to pack up and move out in 2 days. And he did. And I said, okay, God, what am I going to do now? How am I going to do this and do everything you showed me if I don't have a radio station? And the rest, as they say, is history. By this time, Brother Les, it's really phenomenal to me. By this time, Lady Tabitha, I know you know Dr. T, she's already got her own talk show. Several other ladies got their own talk show. When I made the announcement to the staff or the ladies on the talk show that we were no longer going to be in business with him, they didn't go anywhere. We still have to do this. And somebody, the other person watching us, Brother Russ, was listening to the conversation that we were having that I was having with his wife and all the other hosts. And the same day that this man who was my partner, equal partners, locked me out of the website, he removed the email account, he removed the Facebook page, everything where we were functioning. Mm-hmm. But the host, all the talk show hosts stayed with me. And the same night that we were on the phone talking, by 11, I want to say if I remember correctly, 11:04 p.m., had a new website. I had already done the Facebook page and email, and he had developed with his God-given talent everything that we needed to keep moving forward. We had a radio platform, an empowerment, a podcast platform, a YouTube channel. The women who are the hosts never knew anything because nobody ever missed a beat. We went from one platform that I was locked out of to this platform, womeninspirationalradio.org, and kept functioning easy, flowing with ease, with no hiccups.
Yeah.
And with the Empowerment Podcast Network, which is the other part that God showed me, you have to have a broader platform. Men are welcome because there are men doing great things too, like yourself. Men are welcome to have a show. So we wanted to encompass have a platform to encompass everybody.
Right.
And then we got people like Tabitha Russell, Brenda Richburg, and Deidre Butler. These women did not say God gave them the vision for We Are One, the movement for Women Inspirational Radio. But they worked and served with me tirelessly as if it was their own. We did a Women Expo last year, I believe.
Yes.
And these ladies we met because of the radio station. Mm-hmm. And these women worked as if God showed them the vision. And I said, God, you know what? I know your word says without a vision, the people would perish. I said, but the vision you gave me, I can't do by myself. And he said to me, I gave you the people. And I called those three ladies and asked them, can we just be equal partners and do this thing and everybody bring what they bring to the table and their vision and let's grow it. And they said yes without hesitation. And awesome. The four of us have been flowing equal partners, loving each other, genuinely love each other. Y'all say women can't get along, but we can. We are sisters in every way, love each other, support each other, paddle each other, hold each other back, hold each other accountable. And God has blessed the platform where we've got a brother Russ that runs the station. I have a son in Augusta Cordell that helps with the editing, but a brother Russ makes sure everything is on this platform is the best thing out there. I mean, it is the #1 empowerment platform in the land, literally. And it's constantly growing, and it has become my life. So We Are One, the movement is the umbrella for everything that we're doing, and we serve together as one and reach out to people all around the globe to come and be a part of it and just use this platform to do what you're already doing, and that is help other people live their best lives.
I know that's right. I depend on Russ a lot too.
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
So
he's a bad boy. I'm gonna give it to him. I got to give you that. I want people to hear on your show just what you and who you really are. This man's character speaks volumes. This man has, and I know I talked about you all today behind your backs, you and your wife, and how you all exemplify a unity of oneness that I so desire. My husband and I have a great marriage, but it's something that I see in you. Oh. And what y'all bring to marriage that I desire to have. And that's awesome. That is how you support and love one another and show that with that support. And we've been on the phone several times since then, Burlesque, when we do our Zoom meetings. Yeah. And he's in the background listening, and she'll say, well, he's going to his office now or his studio now, and he's working on exactly what we say we need. Mm-hmm. And it's there, everything that we need. And he doesn't ask for anything, and he does it. He works tireless. There is no womeninspirationalradio.org without a brother Russ. Yeah. I would say that. And he makes it, God uses him to make it possible for us to have this platform. And I talk about him all the time because none of this he has to do. Yeah. He does it from his heart. And he does it on a level of excellence.
He does.
And it's so perfect. And I just want to say before your entire audience, thank you, my brother. And I just thank God for bringing you into our lives. And thank you for helping us to fulfill our purposes and our dreams.
Oh,
you are very welcome. But I'm going to take a moment here and drop some breaking news.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
So you mentioned the Empowerment Podcast Network. So coming August 1st, the Empowerment Podcast Network will be launching its brand new website on August 1st. And the Manspace Podcast will be the first official male show to be launched on the Empowerment Podcast Network.
Yes. Oh, boy, you done messed me up. Yes, that's what I was waiting to hear. Oh, my God, thank you.
You are very welcome. So, Manspace Nation, make sure August 1st that you check out the Empowerment Podcast Network.com on August 1st, where you will be able to catch the Manspace Podcast and you will be able to catch all of the replays from the shows from women'sinspirationalradio.org.
Yes.
Man, as my man Ice Cube would say, yay. So tell us, Angela, tell our listeners, give them all your social handles so this way they can catch up with you everywhere.
Definitely.
Make a follow behind. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. Definitely. And you can go.
Definitely. Look, follow us on Instagram. We are Women Inspirational Radio. Our website, www.womeninspirationalradio.org. Find me on Facebook. We Are One, the movement, and Angela Goodman Foxworth. And we also have Women Inspirational Radio on Facebook. Everything about me is about this platform, this movement. And those are all of my tags. You can even call me. If you find me on social media, you're going to find our personal phone numbers, 803-295-1001. Hey, no games, no jokes. We're just the real deal. The email address, if you want to email us, is womeninspirationalradio2@gmail.com. Hit us up however you want. We've got a YouTube channel, Women Inspirational Radio, Women Inspirational Radio on YouTube. That's our WIR-TV. I'm telling you, you're going to find our videos there of our shows and everything that you want. The Empowerment Podcast Network, empowermentpodcast.com. Listen, we're something like a big deal. Y'all might want to come on and jump on board now while the train is moving, because after a while, we might be too big for you. So y'all got to come on now and get on the ground floor. I'm telling you. So hit us up on all the social media platforms and check us out. I tell everybody, hold me accountable. See if I'm not who I say I am. So follow us on social media. Check us out. Join the platform. Hit your girl up if you want your own show. We got a spot for you.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I can tell the Manspace Nation that what you've heard today, I've only known Miss Fox for the last year. This is her. This is 100% authentic. Okay. This is not just for show. What you hear today is what you would hear on the street, what you would hear any day. This is her. And she is one of the most amazing people that I've ever met. I'm thankful for you being put into our lives. So thank you so much for being a part of our show today. We definitely appreciate you. And Miss Angie, we definitely will be talking again soon. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all for having me. Pleasure meeting you, Brother Russ, and thank you both for having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. You take care. As we do each week, we like to close the show with just a little bit of inspiration. Now, this week, it is time for Story Time with Russ. So, one day there was a wolf, and for the sake of the story, we're going to call this wolf Les. Now,
all right, yeah.
Les was walking through the countryside and he came across a field of grains. Now, Les turned up his snout and he growled and said, "Who eats this crap?" And just kept walking. You see, wolves do not eat grain. So a few minutes later, he came across this horse. And for the sake of the story, we're going to call the horse Russ. Now, Les went closer and looked and he said, there's something I can eat. So Les went up to Russ. He says, "Hi, friend. You look a little famished. Why don't you come with me? I found a big field of these lovely grains." Now, see, I would have eaten all the grains myself, but I wanted to share them with a friend. So Russ kind of looked at Les and was very skeptical. Believing that Les had bad intentions, Russ looked and said, "Dude, really? You know horses are pretty smart. I know wolves do not eat grains." And Russ ran off. You see, the moral of the story is not everyone you meet has good intentions.
People often say that motivation doesn't last.
That's right.
Neither does bathing, though. That's why you got to do it every day.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Find somebody that loves you and love them back, baby. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Can't take them nowhere. Manspace Nation, before we close out, I want to mention the Suicide Prevention Lifeline here in the U.S. It is a toll-free number, 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. And on that note,
we out of here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Man Space.
Whichever platform you listen to us on, make sure you subscribe and don't miss a show.
Remember to keep up with all the Manspace updates on our website, themanspacepodcast.com.
And you can follow us on Instagram at ManspaceNat1.
Until next time, Manspace Nation, he's Les, I am Russ, and we are out of here.